Welcome. Welcome to Sapphire Ridge News. We'll give you a few seconds for everybody to pile in, and we'll see if we can get this horse out the barn. So our update today, or our topic today, is on boymom4life77 from TikTok. She is in a unique situation where the first 6 months that she owned her property, the neighbors called the cops on her 30 times in 6 months. And the girl has done nothing wrong. One time she was having a birthday party for her son, and the neighbor called the cops and said the music was too loud. Another time, her son was in on the river fishing, and the neighbor claimed to own that section of the river. This is just crazy stuff. So we will get into some videos here. Hey, Julianne, and you will see how crazy this neighbor is of hers.
My neighbors received a ticket from the wildlife and fishery agents for harassing our boys while they were fishing. It wasn't long after summer vacation had started. They were outside fishing, and their fishing line got tangled in the fence that the neighbor put in the river. So they jumped in the boat to untangle it from the boat. They were standing in the boat untangling it, and the neighbor comes outside screaming and yelling at them, telling them not to touch the fence. They tried to explain they were just untangling the fishing line because they were fishing and just needed to get it untangled, and they were going to fish. She continued to yell at them. I have a video of it. I actually posted it on my TikTok, so if you want to go back and watch it. But it was uncalled for, and so I reported it to the Wildlife and Fishery. And as we know, this has been ongoing for a very long time. This is not the first time she has harassed my boys while they were fishing. And so the lieutenant himself came out and walked my property, walked her property, and issued her a ticket. They have court in October, so we shall see what comes of that. And hopefully they realize that what the wildlife and fishery agents have been telling them, how they don't own the water, and the boys are able to fish and can boat anywhere within that water because it's not her water. Hopefully she now understands that, and hopefully she understands that it is illegal in the state of Louisiana to harass a boater or a fisherman or someone hunting or taking of game. And that's exactly what she was doing and has been doing, and she now received a ticket for it. All right, guys, here is your update from Hurricane Francine and the water fence. And as we know, it's serious when this guy shows up, right? But unfortunately not serious enough because the fence is still there and standing. I actually don't have a ton to update you on at the moment. It was a pretty low-key storm, surprisingly enough, and we were very lucky to not even lose power. However, I want to show you the river gauge because the river is definitely coming up from the storm, and as you can see, look at this drastic change. This is how we follow the river gauge, as mentioned many of times before, and this is how we determine whether or not the river is going to be high or low, or what the river is going to do behind our home. And as well, it was mentioned in the Wildlife and Fishery Agent's report. This next clip I'm about to show you was during the storm, and you could see how much the water was pouring into the river from the rain and the neighborhood and the drains and whatnot. Really, the winds weren't terrible until later that night, and most of the time it was a pretty low-key storm like mentioned. Now today, this picture is from today, you can see the debris starting to come in. We see some tree limbs and a few logs, but nothing major or crazy. Overall, very lucky, and I'm happy to report that we did very well for the storm. I hope everybody else did as well. As you may know, we've had a ton of rain in Louisiana in the past few days, and the river has steady been coming up. Now, although it is not as high as it has been in the past, it's still on the high side. And do you notice anything? Do you see a fence? Do you see wires running across the waterway? No? That's because it is almost completely submerged. No trespassing signs, wire, as well as aluminum poles underneath the water. Some want to argue that there's not a significant amount of boat traffic behind the homes, but to me, that shouldn't matter. Safety is safety. And this is completely unsafe. And remember the 2 pieces of bamboo that we talked about earlier? They're completely submerged, as well as the new garden. Again, this is just more of a note to say, hey, the water is completely submerging this new garden that they've put in. It has nothing to do with us using the water. Here's a picture of it as the river was starting to come up. Here's a picture as the river was coming up, or coming up more. And what's this? That wouldn't happen to be mulch or dirt, would it? Man, this water sure is getting wild. Speaking of getting wild, you should get you a Wild Waters t-shirt. Here's the back. Just let the boys fish, or let the boys fish. In the front, it says Wild Waters. Get you one in the link below.
This girl's gone through some crazy shit.
This is the lowest the river's been since we've dug our property, and wow, look how much water still comes in even when it is this low. The river does fluctuate often, but when it's dead low, like you see here, it does not like to come all the way up where we typically would launch, which is why she put that fence and why we had to dig. Look how beautiful these cypress trees are whenever the river is low. 19 trees total, which is why it makes it tough for the boys to fish on this side of our property, and the reason they need to fish on this other side over here, which is again why she put the fence, because she simply does not want them to fish. There's still a ton of work to be done, as you can see. Sand, dirt, sod, and we have big plans that I can't wait to share. But our plans are on hold for now until the parish fixes the sinkholes from a small drainage issue in the drainage easement. Once that's complete in the next few weeks, we will get back to work. For those of you who have asked, yes, there are alligators in the river. This is a small guy. A few weeks ago, there was a 10-footer, but she has since left. If the alligators become an issue, we call the nuisance line and the wildlife and fishery agent will come out and scoop them up. As you can see, we have a lot of bamboo from the neighbor's property growing onto ours, but we've trimmed those back as much as we can because we have big plans for this side of our property as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah, Julianne, her neighbor has called the cops on her, 30 times the first 6 months she owned the property. 30 times.
As you may know, we've had a ton of rain in Louisiana in the past few days, and the river has
Yeah, when she built the, the boat launch, her neighbor called the cops and told the cops that she was stealing her dirt. And the cops came out and saw that she had was digging a boat launch on her own property. Oh yeah, she's going to build a beach and she has all kinds of things that she's going to do. I have more.
The next court date is approaching with our neighbor. It's January 15th, where we go back for the citation she received for harassing the boys while they were fishing. It's been relatively quiet. She's been on her best behavior. Haven't heard anything from her really, which is surprising, but I don't know if this is the beginning to the end or if she's just being on her best behavior because of the citation. We haven't done a ton around the house because it's been really cold and nasty weather. I was surprised she didn't call for fireworks. That was a plus. But she didn't in the past either, so maybe fireworks are okay in her book. I don't know. We did use the river recently to go duck hunting, which is kind of the only time we really use this area during this time of the year. And no police call was made. However, we didn't use or go through the portion of water that she thinks is hers, even though we legally can. But there was no reason for us to. As you can see, the river is on the higher side right now, which makes the fence difficult to see and for sure a hazard. This photo was taken today. We shall see what happens in court January 15th. I'll be sure to update you as soon as I have more, but relatively very quiet around here, and we'll see. Next week is the court date for the violation that my neighbor received for harassing the boys while they were fishing. October 9th, actually, to be exact. And but here's the thing: if my neighbor chooses not to pay the violation, then she has to appear in court. If she chooses to pay it, then she doesn't have to appear in court, just like a regular standard ticket you would receive in driving a car or whatnot. My husband and I intend to be there. It is about an hour and a half away from our home, so we're going to stay there the night before. We'll make a day of it if she chooses to pay the violation, because we most likely will not know until the last minute. So we're prepared either way. And of course, I'll be bringing all of my documentation that I don't know that I'll be able to use or not, but I will definitely be bringing it to be prepared in the event that I can use it. I will say that since the violation, we haven't heard much from her. It has been very quiet. I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch to say that she's realized that what she's doing is crazy, but nor will she probably ever realize that. But at least I do know that it has been quiet since the violation, and hopeful that this is a sign of some peace in the future. I will be updating you guys as I know more, and will definitely fill you in on everything that happens in court, if anything. And so that's what I have as my neighbor update for right now.
It can be scary too, because quiet can be that they're planning something.
We stand together, we stand as one, we will not be broken, we'll overcome. This is our battle cry, you'll hear our drum. We will not be silenced, our voices
showed the fence that the neighbor put in the river because she was, yeah, the neighbor put a fence in the river. Yeah, I don't know who that song belongs to, so that's why I cut the video short, because I don't want to get a copyright strike. But I have more.
You guys have been patiently waiting on an update, and it has just been one heck of a day. You guys aren't going to believe the outcome. It is definitely just, the story continues. We got there around 9 a.m. They put us in a separate room, just me, my husband, and my two boys. We ended up not staying out because the boys were coming to court. When we got there, I'm not sure if she was there or not yet, but the two wildlife and fishery agents who wrote the citation was there, as well as their attorney who was going to represent them. At some point in time, she had went where in the room where the judge would be. The judge was on Zoom, and we waited for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, give or take a little bit. And then a gentleman comes in the room. I'm not sure if he was their attorney. I'm actually not even sure who he is now that I think about it. But he appeared to run everything and talk with everybody and let everybody know what's going on. So when he came in, he let us know that the neighbors had asked for a continuance because they said they were not prepared and that they wanted to have their attorney present and that they were not able to enter their security cam footage into evidence prior to, and they wanted to be able to do that beforehand, so they asked for a continuance. Now, to put it in perspective, she received this citation on May 31st, so that's roughly 4.5 months ago. She had plenty of time to prepare. She had plenty of time to get her attorney present, and she chose to ask for a continuance, and it was granted. The citation is $200. She says she's going to contest it, and I know what's on that evidence that she has is only going to prove our case more. What's mind-boggling to me is that it just proves how ridiculous she is and how persistent she is in this matter of our boys fishing, that she would hire an attorney to come to court with her 2 hours from his location over a $200 fine, that there's plenty of evidence of what she is being accused of is true. And I can't wrap my mind around it. I don't think I ever will be able to. It just adds to what I believe is her insanity or obsession with us. It's just very, very bizarre to me that she would want to contest this. It is so bizarre that the wildlife fishery agents in the office that we had to go to today, or the courtroom, wasn't even able to give us the procedures of how things happen, because they said it never typically gets this far. Our court date was continued to January 15th. So yet again, now we wait. Today, my husband and I took off of work. My boys missed school. It's just, I guess it shouldn't surprise me, right? She will do whatever she can to try to cause chaos in our lives. But what she doesn't realize, that in the process of her trying to cause this chaos for us, or whatever her obsession is, it just makes her look even more insane. And then her husband there with her. I mean, look, at this point, I'm convinced that they're the same people, because there's no way in heck that my husband would allow this to continue if he wasn't on my side. I'm sure in the beginning he would let things slide, but after a while he'd be like, okay, enough is enough. you're wrong. But anyhow, that is the outcome. That is my update for now. And unfortunately, I have nothing really more to provide or report. So I will keep you guys in the loop between now and January 15th.
Yeah. So it has come to the point where Boy Mom for Life filed charges against the neighbor because in Louisiana it is illegal to interfere with someone who's fishing. And the neighbor put up the fence to prevent the boys from fishing. Told the officers that the reason she put up the fence is to prevent the boys from fishing. Now, so um, there's that. I have one more video.
Well, after what felt like forever, but was really about a month and a half, the parish has officially finished the drainage project at my home, and our boat launch is back together and looking very nice. As mentioned in a previous video, they had to pull up a good portion of our driveway to get underneath because the drainage on our yard was sinking from rotting pipe, and the backside of our neighborhood drains beneath our yard, so it had to be repaired by the parish. But not only did they have to pull up my driveway, they had to pull up a little small piece of the neighbor's driveway because that portion was rotting out as well. But it was a very minor spot. However, that part that had to be pulled up did prevent her from going in and out of her driveway because it was the only way in or out. Surprisingly, she did not cause a ton of issues during this process. Now, I did hear through the grapevine she did make some unreasonable requests, such as the fact that she couldn't drive in her driveway for a day was upsetting to her, and they told her to park on the street, and she said that she couldn't park on the street because the HOA wouldn't allow it, even though, as we all know, there are exceptions to rules here. And she wanted to know if they were going to build a bridge for her to be able to access her property, or whether or not they were going to have the concrete fully set in, and if they didn't, then if her car sank in the concrete, she would need it replaced. And just she's a little bit over the top, in my opinion. And that's what I'm starting to realize, is that she's just over the top with most people, not just us. But truthfully, other than that, there wasn't anything from her. I don't hardly see her. She hardly comes out, and it's actually been pretty peaceful. Since the Wildlife and Fishery Agency wrote her a ticket for harassment, things have calmed down. But I want to make note that we have not really used the river that much because the river has been at a dead low for quite a while. But also it's just been, we've been extremely busy, been out of town, back and forth. And so we really haven't had the opportunity to use the river. So I will be interested to see how things play out as we move forward here. The fence is still there and most likely will still remain, although we do have court coming up in January, which, as you know, was postponed from last month. So I don't know what's keeping her quiet. I don't know if it's the fact of the wildlife and fishery, or if it has to do with we just have been busy and out of town and not really utilizing the river or our property. But as of right now, it's great to be able to report that I don't have really anything to update you on as far as troubles. I do have a lot going on, and I will update you on that in next few videos.
She built a boat ramp, and this crazy neighbor called the cops on her for building a boat ramp on her own property and told the cops that she was stealing her dirt. And when the cops showed up, It was all being done on her own property. This crazy neighbor of hers, Zach, has called the cops on her, called the cops on her 30 times in the first 6 months that they own the property. And the reason the boys can't fish on another section is because, right, right, Julianne, they have 19 cypress trees along their section, and then the neighbor put up a fence and told them that she owned that section of the river, which she does not. Nobody owns the water. You own, see, where it gets complicated is when you buy riverfront property, you own the ground, right? You own the ground under the water. You don't own the water. And this crazy neighbor thinks she owns the water. And when, yeah, I have a video clip that may answer this if I can find it. Where is this video? She doesn't belong to the HOA because the HOA board president took the side of the neighbor. So she said, why should I join the HOA when the HOA has took the side of the neighbor? Um, they live in Louisiana. Louisiana, you teach your kids to fish. They can go out on a boat and they can fish on the river. right? She said that it took several years for them to get that project done, but they did come and do it. And she said, they fish right there by her property. And she said this all started because the first day they moved in, the boys had a paddle boat and took it out on the river. And the paddle boat was covered in red ants. And the red ants began biting, and the boys jumped off of the paddle boat and drug the paddle boat uh, through the neighbor's yard. And the neighbor come out yelling and screaming, and she told them, well, they weren't quite sure where the property line was yet. And the neighbor said, how can you not know where your property ends and begins? She said, we've just been here an hour. She said that the river comes up and goes down, and she said it comes up far enough that that fence that the neighbor put up gets totally submerged. And she said it's a safety hazard because she also put wires across the river from the fence to the other side. So I'll have to do another update like next week. Hey, Laugh, how's Laugh today? We're talking about Boy Mom for Life from TikTok and the crazy stuff that her neighbor has pulled. Just crazy. See if I have another video. Let's see if I put.
All right, guys, here is your update from Hurricane Francine and the water fence. And as you may know, we've had a ton of rain in Louisiana in the past few days. And the river has steady been coming up. Now, although it is not as high as it has been in the past, it's still on the high side. And do you notice anything? Do you see a fence? Do you see wires running across the waterway? No? That's because it is almost completely submerged. No trespassing signs, wire, as well as aluminum poles underneath the water. Some want to argue that there's not a significant amount of boat traffic behind the homes, but to me, that shouldn't matter. Safety is safety. And this is completely unsafe. And remember the 2 pieces of bamboo that we talked about earlier? They're completely submerged, as well as the new garden. Again, this is just more of a note to say, hey, the water is completely submerging this new garden that they've put in. It has nothing to do with us using the water. Here's a picture of it as the river was starting to come up. Here's a picture as the river was coming up, or coming up more. And what's this? That wouldn't happen to be mulch or dirt, would it? Man, this water sure is getting wild. Speaking of getting wild, you should get you a Wild Waters t-shirt. Here's the back. Just let the boys fish, or let the boys fish. In the front, it says Wild Waters. Get you one in the link below.
There you can see the fence having to put in her own boat launch. It's not that she likes the attention, Zach. It's that her neighbor is actually breaking the law. In Louisiana, it is illegal to prevent someone from fishing or hunting or interrupt them while they're fishing or hunting. And the neighbor has admitted to the cops that she doesn't like the boys fishing, so she put up the fence to prevent them from fishing. And that's what the court case is about. Right. It's a glorified property line dispute, which goes to court next week, the 15th. And this is all on Boy Mom's side because there are numerous police reports where they told her she does not own the water and that she, yeah, they told her she does not own the water and she insists that she owns the water. I'll try and find, I've got a video clip that I played earlier, Zach, of the before and after. Let me try and find it. I think
This is
it's
the
this
lowest the
one.
river's been since we've dug our property, and wow, look how much water still comes in even when it is this low. The river does fluctuate often, but when it's dead low, like you see here, it does not like to come all the way up where we typically would launch, which is why she put that fence and why we had to dig. Look how beautiful these cypress trees are whenever the river is low. 19 trees total, which is why it makes it tough for the boys to fish on this side of our property, and the reason they need to fish on this other side over here, which is again why she put the fence, because she simply does not want them to fish. There's still a ton of work to be done, as you can see: sand, dirt, sod, and we have big plans that I can't wait to share. But our plans are on hold for now until the parish fixes the sinkholes from a small drainage issue in the drainage easement. Once that's complete in the next few weeks, we will get back to work. For those of you who have asked, yes, there are alligators in the river. This is a small guy. A few weeks ago, there was a 10-footer, but she has since left. If the alligators become an issue, we call the nuisance line and the wildlife and fishery agent will come out and scoop them up. As you can see, we have a lot of bamboo from the neighbor's property growing onto ours, but we've trimmed those back as much as we can because we have big plans for this side of our property as well. So stay tuned.
Yeah, they can fish anytime they want. Typically they don't fish in the winter time, but from spring all the way through fall, they can fish every day. That's why she had to build her own boat ramp. Yeah, neighbors can be nasty. I count myself lucky where I live at. My neighbors are good, except for the one to the west of me, but that's a whole story, a whole live all by itself, which I don't see the purpose of going over that in live, but that is what it is. All the rest of my neighbors are great. So this is the update on Boy Mom for Life. I'll be doing another update next week after she goes to court, probably on the weekend, next weekend. But it's crazy that the neighbor thinks that she owns the water in the river. Yeah, I need to do an update on the fires. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Crazy. So that's what I got for y'all today. Take care, and we will see you tomorrow. Love y'all. Do the neighbors fish? No. She actually took some fish that they caught over to the neighbors when they first moved in and tried to make peace. And the neighbor told her, "We don't eat fish." So, bye for now. See y'all tomorrow. Take care. Bye.